There are some things that I wish I had known before starting to read In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust. The French title of this work is called À la recherche du temps perdu, and this is the first volume of this huge work. I've gathered some advice for you, some background information, ways to approach this novel, everything you need to know I will be putting into this video. And I hope that this will help you, one, decide whether or not you want to read this, and secondly, if you've already decided you want to read this, to make it a little bit more easy for you. This is the first volume of In Search of Lost Time, which I have recently finished. First of all, I want to talk about the concept of stream of consciousness, because once you know what this is, you will know what to expect. This is a narrative technique that wants to depict thoughts and feelings, everything that passes through the mind. It wants to capture the character's thoughts, feelings, memories, and reflections. And it can often feel chaotic and unstructured. So here are the characteristics of stream of consciousness. First of all, interior monologue. There is a lot of internal dialogue going on. This can include fragmented thoughts, random associations, and shifts in ideas. Number two, long sentences. We get long, meandering sentences, and often they also feel incomplete. The punctuation can be unconventional too, because this mirrors the idea of thoughts not being organized and chaotic. Number three, subjectivity. This writing style places such a heavy emphasis on subjective experiences, and evidently our innermost thoughts and feelings are 100% subjective. Number four is fluidity. Thoughts and memories are often going from one place to the other, and so the narrative moves fluently through different places, different times, and so on. This experience is not linear at all. And number five, one thought triggers another thought. And this creates a web of ideas that reflects the complexibility of the human mind. Now, who will enjoy Marcel Proust? Well, first of all, I think you need to be obsessed with language. And I don't mean, oh, I love reading, I love books. Yeah, I'm obsessed with language. No, I mean you have to be obsessed with prose, with structure, with words, with language itself. Two, you must love long and detailed descriptions. Three, you do not need a storyline to follow in order to enjoy a novel. And four, you need to have patience. There are some famous classic authors who express their love for this work, and they are very similar in style. So if you enjoy those, then you might enjoy Marcel Proust. These authors are Virginia Woolf, James Joyce, Henry James, and William Faulkner. So let's say you have decided to read In Search of Lost Time. Here are some pieces of advice. First of all, if you are unsure if you would enjoy his writing style, go ahead and read the first chapters online. We have the luxury of being able to use the internet, read a couple of chapters before we go and purchase the book. So make use of that and you will have your answer rather quickly. Secondly, what really helped me is I shifted my mindset into thinking I was reading a biography. And I know it sounds a bit weird, but when you approach it like it is a diary of some sort, it suddenly made things so much easier. Thirdly, I want you to make sure that you are in the right mindset to start this work. Prepare yourself for a slow read and make sure that you have the patience at this time in your life to tackle this. And finally, I have seen a lot of advice saying, take this slow, read in short amounts. But I have to say, well, I agree partly because you have to go slow and you cannot read like 100 pages a day. You cannot binge read this like in 3 days. But what I did find is when I only did like a couple of pages a day, it took me a long while to get into it again. And by the time I got into it, I needed to put the book aside again. So I would really recommend to, one, read it every day. Like, do not let it sit for a week and then go on, because it will be so hard to get into that same focus again. And secondly, not do like 1 page, but do 10. Because it does take a while for you to get back into the flow and into the narrative and into the writing style. And personally, this helped me a lot to just sit down for, let's say, half an hour and just really focus. I went slow, I focused hard. There were a lot of times where I zoned out and I had to reread the page, because this is tricky. Like, while you're reading it, it is so easy to zone out. And I actually still haven't figured out whether or not I want to read the other volumes of this work. The book itself was published in 7 volumes between 1913 and 1927 in France. It is a very introspective and a very passive work, so be prepared. If you would ask me, okay, Emily, what is this story about? I would say on the one hand, it is about the childhood of the narrator, and he is recalling memories, certain places he's been to, certain people, events that shaped his life. It's about the passage from childhood into adulthood. And secondly, it is about the love affair of Charles Swann. He is a close friend of the narrator, and we delve deep into the love affair that he's having. He becomes infatuated with this young, beautiful woman named Odette de Crécy, despite her reputation and the disapproval of society. And here we get themes of love, of jealousy, and of social class. By the way, if you're still with me and you find this information useful, it would help me a lot if you would like this video so it can spread to more people. Thank you so much. Now let's delve into what the critics said about this work. Virginia Woolf wrote in 1922, "Oh, if I could write like that." Edith Wharton wrote, "Every reader enamored of the art must brood in amazement over the way in which Proust maintains the balance between these two manners, the broad and the minute. His endowment as a novelist, his range of presentation combined with mastery of his instruments, has probably never been surpassed." And finally, we have Vladimir Nabokov, who in an interview in 1965 named the greatest prose works of the 20th century. First, James Joyce's Ulysses. Secondly, Kafka's The Metamorphosis. Number 3 is Belly's Petersburg. And the first half of Proust's fairy tale In Search of Lost Time. Am I the only one who thinks it's weird to call it a fairy tale? Anyway, speaking of Vladimir Nabokov, I have a review of Lolita, one of his most famous works, on my channel, so go ahead and watch that next.